Hey, welcome back. It's another Friday. Today is August the 9th, 2024. It's hot all over the country. It's hot all over the world, actually, but in a different way. We have some special guests today, Art and I. Hello, Art. How are you doing?
Good, Greg. You
Excellent. Very,
good?
very good. Yes, it's crazy week, though. So we got Kvon Neal, who's back. Hi, Kev.
Hi guys.
And Chris. Now, I know Chris. I don't know if I'm pretty sure we've spoken before, but I don't know if you've been on this show before. But if you
I
have,
have
welcome
not.
back. Oh, okay,
Thank you.
cool. Good, good.
First time.
Wow. It'll be a blast. We talk about all things copiers. Sometimes we talk about other stuff, cigars, bourbon. Bourbon's usually a good way to go, but that's just me. It's Friday
I'd say
afternoon, right?
Friday, right?
Yeah. Let's see. So in the industry this week, woo boy. Uh, Kvon, you'll be happy to hear this. I spoke to a few people talking about scanners. It's coming up organically now, which is interesting. I just got off the phone with a buddy of mine who does all the Rico dealers down south. Uh, his dealerships are in the $5 to $10 million range, so they're not the big ones, but they're surviving, and at that level, they're making money. Family owned, almost lifestyle type dealerships, 3 to 5 reps. It's just interesting to hear what's going on. I mean, they're still selling fax machines. They're still selling, per rep 3 to 5 devices a month, and that's okay. So it's, they're still alive down there, and they're family owned. They're thriving. So that's pretty cool. It's more acquisitions. I saw Stratix in the news earlier today too. Art, how's it going over there on the in the Jersey Shore?
well, my area of Jersey Shore, we're a little bit slow right now. And I
Okay.
even spoke to somebody who's in the industry even further south than me, and a little slow as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Any reasons why isn't this? Well, it's August, right?
Well, it's August, but still shouldn't be a reason why it
Okay.
should be this slow.
All right.
As you know, Sam last week stated maybe it could be some ramifications of the 5-year anniversary of COVID coming up.
Yeah, and you know what? We did just go through a big stock adjustment
We
on the
did
exchange, so
Up and down.
up and down. I mean, it is what I'm not even gonna say that. I hate that phrase, but it's not that unpredictable. Still,
now.
yeah,
So I'm not sure what the answer is. But we've spoken about this before. When you got all these opportunities and they're all stalled, you've got to go out and find more.
yeah. I
And
mean,
that's basically what
It,
I've been doing the last few days.
Art and Greg, it's probably just it's election year, yeah. And companies get conservative when there's uncertainty. And whether, just uncertainty creates conservatism, is that a word?
yeah,
But you just don't know what the futures hold. So it's better to be, not so aggressive. And if I could hold off a purchase for a couple months, then I'm going to do that, right?
yeah.
It's
Wait till
just
the
the
election. Yeah,
it's the nature of the business.
yeah, that makes sense. Chris, now I, maybe a quick brief because how do you service the dealer channel? I forget.
Oh, well, we are a wholesale distributor and we help support the dealers by providing compatible toners
Oh,
for their equipment so we can help them be more profitable and also help them be more competitive to place equipment out in the field.
well, you've been doing it for a long time, right? I mean,
We just celebrated 50 years in business just last month. So we got the first half
congratulations.
century down.
All right, well, good. It's I'm not gonna say it's downhill from here, but maybe it's not as much of a struggle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Okay, so long.
it's challenging in this industry. Because just
You
from
think?
the print volume of everything, Art talked about things being slow on the sales side. I
Yeah.
mean, summertime is always a slow period for us. However, we've probably seen things slower on average from orders from customers here, and there's no secret that print volume is down. That continues to decline from research people that I've seen people give presentations on. They're expecting that, moving after this year, that you could even expect to see print declining maybe, consistently 6% year over year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, so I'm glad you brought it up. How do you guys over there? How do you plan to respond to that? What's your plan in general?
Well, Art kind of brought it up is that you have got to look for more market share, which comes from two avenues. You find new customers, and you also look within your existing customers to see other areas that you're able to help them with that they're not currently buying from you.
Hmm.
And
So,
you
so
need
in your case, would that be just not just, but finding other devices that aren't being serviced by you yet, or are, I guess I'm asking a bigger questions. Are you guys looking to do other things?
well, really, I'm just referring to the part of the parts and supplies that we work with now
Okay.
is evaluating with these customers of finding other opportunities that they may not be aware of what we have, or we help them look at their data so that we can show them the type of opportunities that we can bring for their business. A lot of times when we get to work with them fully doing that, they come away from it saying they didn't realize that there were these opportunities, and
Right.
it opens them up trying new things, which, excuse me, especially during the summertime is a great opportunity because when it's slow,
Yeah.
if we work with them of saying, hey, try these other new things, because when it gets to September and October, you're going to tell us that you're too busy to do that now.
Yeah. So you work primarily with the channel versus the ultimate consumer, or how do you do customer facing on
We work
go
with
ahead.
the independent dealers
Okay.
themselves.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Wow.
not to the end users.
Okay. Well, here's the loaded question. 50 years in, let's just say in the last 24 months, what have you seen that's changed?
Oh, the last 24 months. Well, what I've seen that's changed is it's been kind of a crazy, uh, tough ride for these independent dealers. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster for them. If you talked with people going back at the beginning of 2024, they would be telling you that 2023 was one of the best years they had. It's a
Right.
record
Yeah.
year, and I think what not everybody realized or wanted to admit from that is that part of the reason of that was because of the backlog from the previous year of the supply chain issues. So you kind of had this tidal wave of business that comes in, and what happens is the tide goes out after that. But when they had that record year and the OEMs have their fiscal years end at the end of the first quarter of the calendar year,
Hmm.
as we started to get into April and May, when the OEMs were working with the dealers on, what the next fiscal year was going to look like, everybody's numbers were going up.
Yep.
And the comments from everyone was, boy, if we could just match last year's numbers, that'd be a huge success.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be closing in halfway in on this. I think a lot of the dealers now are starting to realize, boy, we got a real uphill battle here.
Oh, wow.
Are we actually even going to hit those numbers?
Yep. Yep. We were above 21, above 22, above 23, and 24 is interesting to say the least.
Wow.
Well, nothing's ever a linear straight line. That's something I could tell you over 50 years too, is that nothing moves in a straight line up year over year.
Yeah.
You're going to have those peaks and valleys, and I think this is one where, on average, you're going to see a little bit more valleys around the independent dealerships coming through this year. But that doesn't last forever either.
Right. You know what? Let me ask you another question. It's kind of off the wall, but you're mentioning it's talking about time frames and cycles and things like that, especially given maybe you've been in for at least 2 decades. In there are peaks and valleys. We'll always agree with that. Do you feel that the peaks, the time span between the peak and the valley has compressed or has stayed the same? Because I personally think it's compressed, right? I've seen it back in the 70s, the recessions and all that. It took months or maybe years to get out. I mean, even the Reagan years took at least a decade to get out of that.
Yes.
But, and this is my personal view and opinion, I guess, is I've seen that condense, and AI is a really good example. But what do you think? What do you see? What have you seen?
I agree with what you say. The recent times, I mean, how many recessions have we been through in the last 20 years? A couple of them. I'd go back to say we had 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and that bounced back by 2002, 2003. It was booming.
We had
And then
2009.
we had the
The
yeah,
housing
the
or
2008 to 2009,
Yep.
and that was bouncing back within another year. And we've really had this kind of
sure.
stable time for you. Usually, if you go back in history, I'd say roughly every 10 years, you can say you're going to have a recession and then go back and reset. But this has probably been the longest time that we've had without a recession. And I think part of the thing that is tough for people in business at that point, when you have such a long time, when you get a recession, there's so many more people that have never had the experience of working through a recession. And that makes it very difficult for some people in businesses. I think with all of us being in so much time, we're like, recession, this will be over here. For the people who haven't been through it before, it can really be tough or devastating for
Wow.
them.
Yeah, you really see that with the layoffs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially in the tech industry. They've had it. I mean, and this is not, they've had it so quote unquote good for
Yeah.
decades. Never heard of a layoff in the tech industry. It was
Yeah.
always higher, higher, higher. And now these layoffs are massive. They're not like
Yeah.
a dozen here. They're 1,500, 2,000. And those folks have never been through something like that before.
And it
So
happens in different areas too. I mean,
right.
when we go through this next recession, they're going to be, it was, we left out COVID. I left that out because that was kind of universal to just about
Right.
everybody. However, even though most people were feeling bad from it, there were a number of industries that during the COVID period where that was just a booming time for them.
Oh, yeah.
And then when it ended, it was a bad recession for them when it was going great for everyone else.
Yeah, that's right. Wow. Kevin, what do you see out there?
Well, to Chris's point, like Zoom was an unknown commodity before COVID that skyrocketed, right? So for certain businesses, it was really beneficial, work from home, work remote. So definitely was positive from that aspect. But I agree, I see that these recessions can be shortened because there's so much more way to do business, to communicate, to change the dynamics, to to pivot your business. So I think there is ways that you can get creative instead of in the past, change a business model, do the traditional marketing, communicate all that time and effort and money to kind of change your direction. So there is opportunities. And to your point originally, Greg, talking to the dealers, right? And you're hearing this more talk about scanning and less printing. So maybe they're trying to change their business model by selling, more software, more services. I mean, that Xerox did it with their dealer channel, and all of these OEMs are trying to do it with their dealer channels. And maybe that's a way they could do it, obviously sell the print and the toners and the services around maintaining those machines, but can you do other things, maybe monetizing the scanning portion of it? And we're hearing that, your comment is validated by, I just did a webinar a couple of weeks ago with Keypoint Intelligence, our market analyst firm, and they had done a survey with IT resellers, so it wasn't specifically office dealers, but they're seeing an increase in demand for, or an increased interest, I could say. I don't know if it's projected in the actual revenue numbers, but people are talking about scanning. They're asking questions. They're asking for market research from people like Keypoint Intelligence because they want to understand that. So, and then even in tough times, just my last point is that I did live through the financial crisis in 2008 and 2009, and I remember it very clearly because I was at Fujitsu at the time. And my product segment was production scanners. So these are the big, expensive scanners. And it was predicted that the market was going to crash. We're going to be out of business and buy these things. Guess what? We doubled down and we said, hey, we're going for it. And guess what? Not only did the market expand, our market shares expanded because people needed to digitize and be more efficient. And that was a way they could do it. They could decrease costs by investing in these workflow, digital transformation. And that's what they did. But man, we had to work hard. But in tough times, that's my point, right? In tough times, if you have a really good value proposition, then people will still buy because it's easily justified with the ROI or total cost of ownership, right? But you got to come with those numbers, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. And I hear what you're saying, and I don't mean this derogatory, but I've heard it before. It seems like whenever tough times come, right, get back to the basics. And the basics are always good. I don't, I heard someone talking about cold calling today on the phone, which, what did it never disappeared. And someone was even, what was it? She was teaching people how to use voicemail.
Yep. See, there's an etiquette to it, right?
Well, yeah. And the question was, well, should you leave a voicemail or not? And I'm thinking, well, of course, everyone guesses has their own opinion, but we've seen that come and go too. Right now, voicemail doesn't work, email doesn't work, whatever. And now voicemail, yeah, leave a voice. It's part of a bigger plan. Da 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 da. But it's interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's just because getting nostalgic about stuff, right? I mean, the days of grabbing a yellow pages and working from the Z's backwards are all over. But reaching out by phone is almost as effective as it's ever been, and maybe even more.
And Greg,
it's
if I could from last week's episode, right? There was some homework from Sam Brinkley, right? He said, go on Facebook and then type in, groups in your area, right? So I did that. I took some homework. So I didn't find a Facebook group, but I found 1 Million Cups, which turns out to be a volunteer organization that does. They got like a couple hundred chapters around the country, and they're volunteer. They're free. You can go pitch your business to it, whether it's a for-profit business or a nonprofit business. I got to know them and whatnot. So I'm pitching my business. I'm pitching the Twain Working Group, right? So you could meet really good people like really quickly. That's what I'm saying. Like in the olden days, you didn't have these communities of stuff. Like, so all of a sudden, I met some people and talking to them, and if business happens, then that's cool, whatever.
Right.
But we've got some friends. So that's what Sam's point was like, okay, he said he created this net walking group, and it's people that just were just going for walks, and they happen to talk business, and whatever happens. So that's what people can do. You could do that yourself, right? It's with so many groups on there, LinkedIn groups, Fake Send groups, Eventbrite groups. So you can really get,
Yeah. So I did my homework as well.
Did.
And,
right.
I looked for, I think it was business groups in New Jersey. And I came up with about a half a dozen. All right. So I joined all half a dozen. And I was looking for, I spoke to Sam basically this morning. But I joined all half a dozen. And I went on and I started looking for, so after I joined, I started posting some of the stuff Sam was talking about, those inspirational quotes. And I posted a few that I looked up on Google and a few that I have of my own, and I started getting likes and some comments. But then I went into each group and I was looking for events that they would have. Right? That's what Sam said, once you join a group, then go to these events that they have. And I noticed that all 6 of them didn't have any events. New events. They had past events, but they didn't have any new events. So at that point in time, I said, well, maybe I need to start my own event, right? So I just did that yesterday, and I basically said, anybody interested in creating our own networking group in Monmouth County? So within the 2 days, I've had 5 people actually say, yeah, we're interested in joining a group and we're interested in meeting. I haven't set it yet. I'm trying to set something for the end of the month, whether it's going to be virtual or whether it's going to be in person. But to get back to what Sam said, yeah, I've introduced myself to 5 people I don't know.
Didn't know, right? That's
I
cool.
Didn't have to make a phone call.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. So last week we spoke with a gentleman who works down in Florida, dealer, and he was giving us different ideas of how to network, and it was almost old school, like join he didn't say this, I'm just the JCs, the Lions Club, stuff like that. And but he was successful, got some leads just off of running through Facebook, right, guys? Is that what? Yeah. And then the assignment was, we'll go out and try and find some things locally. It looks like these 2 guys did. I do all my stuff on LinkedIn, but I've got plenty of meetings and new groups there. I don't do face. Did you guys both do Facebook or yeah? What platforms did you guys
I
use?
did Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I tried.
I found LinkedIn to be very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a LinkedIn guy.
Yeah.
Kevin.
I did both, but
Okay.
I also did Google search of like events in the area.
Oh,
So, and that's how I found 1 million cups. I've seen them come in my email, but I never paid attention to them. Then I was like, amazing. And they're a foundation. Like I said, it's not a nonprofit, I don't think, but there was a philanthropist and Kaufman, it was his name, and he started this organization. And I think he's passed on, but long ago. But he's funded this, and they're like a good group. And I would have never paid attention to it if Sam hadn't said, like, encouraged us to do this, right?
Right.
So I couldn't, I don't know, in the Bay Area here, I couldn't find, like, we don't have good technology meetups that are like sincere. I don't know what it is.
oh
It's
well,
like,
yeah. Then there's that. Yeah,
yeah.
the sincerity. I just had an idea. How about non-tech groups? You know, I mean, go for an adjacent somehow. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've met through the bourbon clubs. I mean, right? Everyone's there not to talk business, but I'll be damned if, well, the conversations evolve, and then they work their way through. What do you guys do for a living? To it goes everywhere after about an hour or two. But I think what I find here it's really interesting is that because this isn't the first. I mean, I know a lot of people who are out locally, Charlotte, L.A., San Bernardino, Miami, that are doing these more face-to-face things. And I always take note of it thinking, well, it's the same as it was before, when it really isn't. I think there's something here, whether it's, and it doesn't matter if it's remote or face-to-face, that's almost the same thing too. I mean, we want local in a sense, but I think there's a new or a reborn interest in that smaller, I don't know, intimate meeting type platforms. And I think that might be from COVID, right? I mean, there's no wrong or right answer. These things fascinate me.
I'd agree with that somewhat because people have been isolated for so long, or people are used to doing Zoom meetings, which are they're productive and efficient. But when you're in person with people face to face, you make a stronger connection for sure.
Doesn't it seem strong? It does, right? I mean, isn't it something like we can appreciate it because we went without it for a while, so now these face to faces actually mean more? Does that right? I think so.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, it really makes those useless face to face meetings even more like, this was stupid. This could have been an email type thing, right? And wow, interesting. Well, I don't know how that's going to sell more scanners or toner cartridges, but that's an interesting conversation.
Well, again, you never know who
You never know.
who you meet. Showing up at these things, it could be somebody that could be a worthy connection for life, for all you know.
Yeah. Or
But
somebody who knows
gotta
somebody
show up
else.
to be there.
Oh, I love the synergy. If you don't do it, you're never going to know, right? Just like you said, you met 5 people that you didn't know a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Art, did you have a question? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I was just going to state that Sam gave some good information, and we acted on it, and we, could possibly over time could get us what we're looking for, just more connections and more opportunities.
Chris, I do have a question for you. So I do this series on the imaging channel. It's called New to Copier Sales, right? Every month, which has been going on now, I think for 2 years or 3 years. It's incredible. Little tidbits and stuff. Art's helped me out a couple times. If a new person comes into the industry, and if you can answer, if it's in someone else's wheelhouse, that's fine. How would you tutor a new rep to help them sell more toner, or you know what I mean, position? How would you help them position and to be in a more advantageous to close a deal because of your relationship with them?
Well, I would say the first thing bringing on someone new is to not put the pressure on them that they've got to get something sold right away. And the first thing I would do, and I would do this if I was in the shoes of going in any new industry of anything, I would say, you know what, put me together with the most successful person here, let me watch what they do. I want to follow them around for 3 or 4 weeks. Then start giving me something. I'm going to learn, I'm going to ask questions, and then I'm going to be ready to go. And we probably all grew up in an area where you talk about the yellow pages. They used to give you a few cards. Here's the yellow pages. Go get them, Tiger.
Yep.
You know?
Those were the days.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, is there a way you can specifically answer the question in terms of what you sell? I mean, how would I position the sales rep to go out there and start selling your toner cartridges? Is that a good question or not?
Yeah. Well, as the way I look at it, going through the new people, is to tell them really, here are the outcomes that we do for people.
Okay.
We give them, we give them a safe, reliable product where they can bring more to their bottom line, and we can also help them in competitive situations to win more deals that they used to maybe walk away from because they didn't have a cost-saving alternative in their back pocket when they couldn't do it with an OEM product.
Okay. And
if those are these are problems that we're looking to solve. It's I would go through exactly like that. These are the problems that we help solve. Usually when you're talking with people, they say, yeah, we run into that. Well, that's the part where we're here to help.
They can make a dealer more competitive in a bid situation.
Exactly.
Right.
That's usually with our products. We tell them, especially when you're in bid situations, how many deals did you lose over the last 6 months, or that you walked away from because you couldn't be competitive with that? Let's look at those. We have products for some of that equipment. If we look at that, let's run the numbers for you there. If you think that may have made a difference for you here, let's get your salespeople educated that this is an alternative that you can go to when you run into those situations. Because I know as salespeople here, we don't like losing sales and we don't like walking away from them. But a lot of times we're losing them and walking away from them because it was something that was completely out of our control. But if we have options, not that it's a guarantee for us here, but we'd always like an opportunity to go back and say, you know what, we think we've got a solution where we can do this at the more competitive with the cost you're looking for.
And Chris, again, I apologize. I don't know that much. I'm just going to ask you outright. So you guys, do you distribute? Do you manufacture your own cartridges as well, or where are you in that ecosystem?
We don't. We're distributing them, but we work very closely with the manufacturers that we've had relationships with for decades. 30 plus years that we've worked with. So we have a consistent, reliable source that we work with. Unlike there are other people that can buy from overseas and they put their stuff out to bid, and you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
We're here to work with consistency, just like they expect from the OEM. It comes to the same source. The OEM doesn't go out and have their toner made, at different places every quarter, so that they can lower their costs a little bit. We keep it consistent. So we always tell people we're not going to be, if you want to find a lower price on the internet, believe me, you can. So you'll find it. But we will be a better cost for you than the OEM. That will promise from you, and you're going to get the consistency working with us, and that's what they need.
Yeah. Cool.
So Greg, just a little background information for Chris and I. We had a chat back in when COVID started, and then when all of the Chinese ports were all locked up and they weren't shipping toner. And actually, Chris had some interesting comments at that time, and how to for dealers actually to get what they need.
Interesting.
You remember,
I was
Chris?
going to ask how you guys knew each other. Yeah,
I do. That was going a ways back, but yeah, those were some crazy times.
Wow. Well, do you guys have any questions for us?
I have a question for Chris.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So So obviously printing is really important to business and valuable, like any technology, well, like a lot of technologies. I'm just going to throw in AI. It's kind of an analogy. So AI is good, but it consumes a lot of energy and whatnot. So as far as when the toner's finished, right, do you offer any kind of refilling or disposal services? Because when I hear toners, I always hear, bad for the environment, not good. So being green and being environmentally friendly, what kind of services do you offer around that?
Yeah, we usually don't have one directly ourselves. We've had them in the past where we do need to collect items on ourselves to, remanufacture certain products where we need them. We will
Oh.
do that specifically. It's not a cross for anything. However, we found that for most of the brands we sell, the OEMs already have things set up for that type of recycling loop for the dealers. So it's quite easy for them to be collecting our empty cartridges or anything and put them back with those. So we've let them kind of choose to do it that way.
Oh, that's good. At least there's an option for
It
the
helps keep
manufacturer.
it helps keep our costs to be more competitive, but yeah, we've found that they've been able to piggyback things off of those programs to get some of those there.
Good.
How is the supply of cores? Is it dwindling or what's that like?
It depends. It's not on every item that we sell. A lot of these we have we'll have toner manufactured in the U.S. and filled in the U.S., but the empty cartridges themselves, they're all produced over in Asia. That's the only way to keep the cost down. But they'll be new and they will come over. It's more when we get into a situation of collecting an empty cartridges when there's a situation with a tricky patent issue that can't be designed around or
No.
a particular chip issue that needs to be done.
Patents and chips. How do you feel about the latest development from HP in terms of what was their subscription print thingy and all the other stuff that's going on?
Yeah, that's been a trick. We actually avoided getting into a lot of the new HP things because of all the chip craziness going on. Because it's frustrating. I mean, our dealers would like to be able to buy an alternative product for that, but the biggest problem they have is getting around people doing those updates that locks the cartridges out. And it's just too difficult for most of them to handle correctly. So we chose to just go in another direction as far as focusing on other products, because if we sold people where they're using them and then all of a sudden they can't use them, it's just too frustrating. It's a bad experience. So if they want to try and do it, we'd rather have them have the bad experience somewhere else as opposed to with us.
Yeah, good idea. Interesting.
I lived that, and I wanted to throw my HP printer through the window because that's not right. I still had plenty of ink in there, but it expired, and I was like so pissed. And it was like $20 cartridge or something. So
right,
but ethically, it's just
it didn't make any sense to me. And I was an HP fan. I sold edge lines. But they were, even back then, they were ding dongs. This is back in the old days with oh my gosh, the pilots. They have always had challenges that are just, what are you guys nuts? Why would you do that? And that's this thing. Why would you do? Yeah, you know why.
You know why? Because you have to buy a new one. But that's you can't force people to break something intentionally that should work until the end of life, right? That's just not right.
The way they did it, and the way the end result wasn't optics. It was the way it ended. It was the way it was. Like, I don't need my mom to have to complain about stuff like that, for crying out loud, let alone a business owner, and the whole thing was just it's a mess that was avoidable. It's like, dude, just sell good stuff. Don't make people buy it from you because they bought it from you once. It's just
right.
So
it's a great way to get people to buy their product from somewhere else the next time they need it or they've had enough with it. And especially those smaller printers. I mean, they're practically disposable. So if you're going to make the experience that bad, they'll be like, all right, why don't I walk into Staples and buy a Brother the next time?
Right. I mean, it taints the whole logo. which is another thing. It may have nothing to do with their PCs or their laptops, but still. And I go back to, my mom and dad, my friend, on a social, it was a pain in the ass to buy that dang thing. I'm going to look at a Dell before I look at an HP. Goofy stuff like that. It's like, guys. Well, anyway, that was a bummer.
Hey, Chris,
Uh,
I got a question for you. So is there, have you seen any applications for AI in your business yet?
I haven't yet, but I think that there's more that could be coming along just with some of the accounting softwares and things that we use to run our business. We've seen them talking about new releases that they're going to have later in the fall with some AI portions of them. So hopefully those will help to streamline productivity more than they are already. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Good question, Art, by the way. I mean, we just got off a call earlier today that was the hype with AI is kind of taking a big pause right now on one side, but on the these big companies are still pushing hard on it. There's a vacuum in the SMB for sure, and then even all the way up to the Fortune 1000s. It's people just don't know how to deal with it.
So here's something interesting. I've been prospecting a lot this week and doing a lot of phone calls. And recently, I ran across 2 accounts, and for both accounts, they had one had a reservation. They said, "Well, we don't like our existing copy machine. It's too noisy. We'd like to, but we're in a contract with our current vendor, so we don't know if the owner of the company actually because most of the time you speak to the gatekeepers, you don't get to speak to the DM." At that point in time, I stated, well, even though you're in a contract, there are ways to actually per dealer to get them out of an existing agreement, right? But at that point in time, I thought, the gatekeeper was more of a novice, and I really, I don't think she had the time nor the temperament to listen to all the nuances of it. So immediately I got onto ChatGPT, and I asked it to write me a short blog about what are the benefits for a client to upgrade their lease early, right? At that point in time, I made some changes to it because I wanted to address it to that client, right? So I made some changes to it, and then I sent an email to the receptionist saying, "I thought you may be interested in this, or Doug may be interested in this article I published on LinkedIn." So I did that on 2 different scenarios with 2 different accounts with 2 different blogs. I don't know if that's going to resonate, but just to the ability to get on and write that content, or you have the idea for the content, create me the content, customize the content, and say, "I just published this. You may be interested in reading this." I thought that was a different way of prospecting, or
And how long did it take you to actually do that, Art, when you decided that? I'm curious.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So
5
there
minutes.
you go. I mean, it would have taken, without having ChatGPT, it would have taken you, 15 minutes just to get the ideas in your head on, putting a bullet outline before you actually wrote it.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's nuts, and
a
even
great
that's even better. It's a perfect because you put it out on LinkedIn, right, Art?
Now they're on LinkedIn, and they're forever on LinkedIn.
Right. Now other people are going to do it, see it.
And
so
then
you've got a permanent resource as you continue to build your library on each scenario that you encounter.
Correct. And if I need to go back to it now, it's already written, and I just have to send, "Hey, you might be interested in this article I wrote." If they go to the article, then basically they get to see your whole background.
Absolutely. Dude, that's great. And so, good news, not many people are doing that. especially in our industry, not in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hardly anyone.
Hardly
Yeah.
any.
So the question is,
Great
because
awareness.
monetizing AI. So Art, it only took you 5 minutes, right? So it saved you a lot of time. You got a
Yep.
lot of value out of it. Would you be willing to pay for that service? Because I assume you use the free ChatGPT.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so would you be willing to pay for it? If so, how much would you pay to do that in 5 minutes instead of however long it might have taken you?
I'd have to think about that because it's free right now. I
Maybe not for long.
Exactly.
I
They're gonna
mean,
start
I
taking
mean,
it away.
I mean, I don't use the pay version because I haven't seen a need for the pay version for me yet,
Yeah.
because I'm getting everything done with the free version. But if they came across and said, okay, ChatGPT is no longer free and they wanted $25 a month, I'd pay them their $25 a month.
See, there you go. Then
Yep.
that's
Do you
that's
use,
a
do
way.
you pay for LinkedIn Premium?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
just don't see the value.
I didn't. I
And it-
did, and that's a. If you look at it relative to the other ways, that's a big nut.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
$100 a month now.
and there's a whole bunch of other reasons, but no, right. And then I do pay $20 for. Well, no, I did pay $20 for ChatGPT. What they've done now, though, is their upgrades to the free stuff is as good as what the pay stuff was 6 months ago. So it's like I'm just gonna wait until maybe 5 or when it really gets good. But I don't know, like you are. I mean, if it gets really, really, really good, how's that relevant to what I do? I don't know. The free stuff. You have try Perplexity and all these other ones. They've all got their own little niche that they're really good at.
Right.
And they're free for now. You're right, for now.
Mhm.
Just interesting.
Yeah, I haven't
That's
tried any of the
great
other ones
story.
yet, just because I'm happy with what I'm getting out of ChatGPT right now.
I've used them all. And I had a conversation earlier. So what the big thing right now is the verbal, the oral, being able to communicate like Siri and Alexa. The ChatGPT thing is really sharp. But I have to tell you, this is what do you guys use Spotify at all? If you don't, it's a music service. They have the verb you can search with by talking to it. The response time is unbelievably fast. I don't know how they're doing it. It's just before it's like not even a second after I get the request out is the song playing. I don't know how they're doing it.
Wow.
It's super fast. Siri's super slow. It's getting better. Alexa, half the time I don't even know what she's answering. The ChatGPT one is excellent. But it's not quite as quick as the Spotify one. And that's 6 months old, maybe in that range. I mean, 2 years from now, I don't know what it's going to be. That's like we were talking earlier about the time compression. It's just nuts right now. And so yeah, it's a great story what you said, Art, about being able just to click one out on chat and then modify it and then post it up there for forever. And now you can refer to it. And that took you say it took you 10 minutes.
Right.
So what? And then you're just dipping into it. And you're a seasoned vet. So if you're a new person or someone who's just getting into a new vertical, all the business acumen that I've been preaching about for the last decade that would take you years to learn is a prompt away.
Yes,
That's
it is.
another thing. Which we can appreciate it because it took me years to learn what someone could just prompt in and get out in 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
And learn it and be able to have a cognizant conversation.
But sometimes it may take years to learn the business acumen of what to tell ChatGPT to write about.
That I agree with. And that's the last, yeah.
There's still an art to learning prompting. So you still have to think like the computer and then the proper prompts. It's still not at a point where you could have a natural language talk with it. It's close, right? But it still will do kind of crazy things. So that would be though.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that even if that natural language gets better, it's still going to be about the prompt. And we're still how to think like Socrates and the great ones, all right, really comes into play because it ultimately does exactly what you ask it to do.
Yeah,
right.
A little.
So
like
actually,
better or worse.
I think your salespeople when they're in calling their dealers and maybe they get objection or they get something like that. I think basically they could almost start their own vault of articles on LinkedIn and then go to those. And then basically email the client, after a phone call, hey, I thought you might be interested in this. Might help out your sales. Just a thought.
No, it's a great one. You're talking about both the guys, right? Kevin and Chris?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I've done exactly what you did, Art. I wanted to talk about blockchain for insurance. So I said, hey, tell me about a use case for blockchain for insurance. Blah, 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 spit it out. Hey, man, I didn't have to edit it at all. It was perfect, right? For that, it was just talking about general use case for blockchain for your insurance, right? It said that here's the value, this is how it works. Done. Nice summary. Then post it. It's a new blog post, SEO. There you go. People find it.
That's
like
right.
so simple, like so easy and simple. And it's about productivity, but I could do 5 things at the same time it would take me to do 1, right? So it's about that enhanced productivity because now I did a blog that I wouldn't have done, because it was so simple and easy. It was free. Didn't have to pay anything. But yeah, go ahead, Art.
I was taught years ago in sales that the power of something in writing goes much further than somebody speaking about it. And, Greg and I spoke about this for years, that content is still king.
Absolutely true. And boy, you swerved into it. So we're creating things with Chat GPT. Other people are doing the same thing, but there's what you did, Art, though, was the best way to do it is you put in your own thoughts and then massaged it so it's
Correct.
your stuff, right?
Mhm.
What I'm seeing is 80, and it's a high percentage of content is pure, hey, this is the article I want, write it, and then post it. It's like it's empty.
Right. And there's certain words and certain phrases in there that immediately you say, okay, this is AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Got to
there-
kind of give it your own voice.
Yeah, there's a
Yes.
danger to doing that because search engines know too, and they'll penalize you for if they can detect if it's AI. So
Right.
sometimes they say intentionally do a misspelling or not perfect verbiage, right?
That's
So it
what I do.
becomes
I do
for-
the misspelling thing. I do that. It's like,
bam.
Even though you had it, I know you talked about, the written word versus speaking, but what about video?
well,
What
got
if you took those words and, did it as video? I mean, I understand when you talk with somebody, you walk away and then it's not there. But if you, if you had a short message, if you also did a video presentation of it to save it, I think that could be just as powerful too, leveraging on the Chat GPT that you had put it together and then, do your video speaking
well,
as well as the written.
it gets even better. Well, I don't. Wes just did something today, and I've been seeing this for the last few weeks. Is you just throw your blog into this machine, and out comes a video.
Oh, really?
That's incredible.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
No, it is. You're right, and that's today.
Was
Wow.
that where he was talking about his AI twin?
Yeah, he did an avatar, which is totally sort of different. But I've seen them complete and total songs, rock and roll songs, videos, AI generated from start to finish. And they'll take a song that already exists and they'll say, sing this, whatever, Nirvana song in the style of Elvis and generate the video. And it's a 3-minute long or whatever the song is. It's singing a Elvis Presley voice singing, and I'm using an example, but it's completely generated from the computer. There's no human stuff there. But that's today. I know, right? So you create a quick blog into the machine. The machine's already got your avatar or not, right? It could be you looking like Harrison Ford or whatever, a voice like yours or John Wayne's or somebody's.
Right.
And there it is. And to the average right now, to the average viewer, it's going to look fine. But 6-8 months now, we're not going to be able to tell the difference at all
I'll have to
in
look
any
that up.
language.
It's
I mean, we're all
Unbelievable.
we have the luxury of comparing to what it used to be. But you've got people coming up that's the way it is. Period. So, okay, wow. So anyway,
Yeah, I got to
Yeah.
look that up. I got to take a look at that because that's pretty interesting.
well, if you want anything, you should go to the Greg report,
Oh,
updated hourly.
Huh.
Because it has to be, but it's got all sorts of stuff like that. And the biggest thing, one of the big waves going on right now is androids and robots, which, I know we can all, the robot from Lost in Space, all those. These are not the same things. I just saw yesterday. Listen to this. It's a drone. It's an autonomous drone that can fly on its own. But imagine a caterpillar with propellers at each segment, and the segment moves based on the obstacle it has to go around. All right. And it's flying. It's not on the ground. It's flying. So if it's flying and there's a hoop, it will change its shape to go through the hoop. It's mind boggling. It does it on its own too. So you take all that technology that is in that little magic thing and apply just 1/10 of it to, I don't know, assembling a new car or putting together new airplanes or engines or, building water heaters. We're on the verge of something just unbelievable. And that's happening today. Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, so before we close, because we're getting to that witching hour, Kevin, one thing I did find something this week at when I was in a training class, and I found my first wide format scanner
oh, you did.
that had embedded OCR.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
So
it was quite interesting because most of the scanners out there, actually, you would have to add OCR in a post-process.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, scanning anything, especially, wide format still has
Yeah,
text
wide
on it. So you'd want to get the text on it. And I was just talking to somebody, just real quick, is that, they wanted to mine their PDF documents. They have big giant corporates, but they wanted to mine it and they didn't capture the metadata at that time. So maybe they had blueprints from way long ago and you can't find them unless you're OCR'd it, and with the PDF. So that's a good solution. Wide format plus OCR.
Yeah, and it was zonal. It was zonal, but every document had to basically have the same title block, the same size title block on it. But it was still interesting because no other scanner actually has it embedded. So
Wow,
just
thanks
thought I
for
would
sharing.
pass that along to you.
Chris, anything new coming up from you guys in the next couple years?
Next couple of years, it's like you say, everything happens so fast.
Okay, the
Think-
next
think
30
that
days.
far ahead.
I know. Hey, when was the last time you heard anyone say, let's do a 5-year plan?
I think that may have been 20 years ago.
Yeah. But anything, what in closing comments there, Chris?
Well, we're always looking at new products. We actually just introduced this past month our newest thing, which is probably only relevant to Kyocera dealers, is we had color toners out for these new A4s that were just introduced by Kyocera in December. A lot of our loyal people out there were asking, when are you gonna have these out?
It's pretty quick.
And we first asked, when we tell us the beginning of the year, we said this just came out last month. It doesn't work that fast. But we have them now. I mean, less than a year after they've been introduced is pretty
pretty fast.
pretty quick. So it's a great alternative for Kyocera dealers placing those machines. So give us a call. We'll tell you. You may have if you follow our page on LinkedIn, we did recent posts about those newest products.
Cool.
Awesome. Greg, any closing words?
Nope, I've had plenty of words.
Kevin?
Another great session. Love it.
See you guys in November. Looking forward to it. So always a great session with you guys. Chris, nice meeting you.
Pleasure
of
meeting
luck.
you too, Kevin.
All right, everyone. I'd like to thank Kvon Neal for being on the show today and Chris Polek being on the show. Greg, as always, we enjoy our segments. We invite
times.
everybody back next time. And be sure to like, follow, and share. And we'll see you next Friday at 4 p.m.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
So long, guys.